Traveling while recovering from autistic burnout feels like you're walking a tightrope. And I might spend a lot of time on a balance beam, but that doesn't mean I'm a pro at walking this fine line between rest, recovery, and continuing to get on with your everyday life. But as I navigate burnout recovery, I'm not trying to prove anything. I'm just trying to honor my energy and see what healing really looks like. Because realistic burnout recovery is not black and white. It's not the sleep until everything feels perfect again. And it's also not a quick bounce back and get back to all of those old processes that got you here in the first place. It's a rebuilding process. And you have to do some of that rebuilding while you're on the move. You may notice I'm not in my normal house right now. I'm actually in a hotel room. And one of my big goals on this trip was to not end up sick. Because as I said in my previous video, I have ended up unwell in the last 2 trips that I've done. As soon as I've gone away, I've just picked up something and had some of the worst viruses that I've ever had in my life. The last time I went away to do a gymnastics competition, I didn't even make it to the training because I was throwing up so bad. Sorry for being graphic. The reason that happens, and we all know it's kind of a common thing, right? If you're pushing yourself too hard, the second you relax, your cortisol levels go down and you just pick up anything that's around. If you're in chronic stress for a long period of time, and then you just take all of that away, or perhaps add on different types of stress because you're traveling, then your body just responds the only way it knows how. Wipes you out. So in my everyday life, I've worked really hard to remove that stress. I'm still working towards goals, but I'm doing it in a manageable way and I'm adding new things in gradually. And I'm hoping that that's going to help me have a healthy holiday and, did I forget to mention, a successful gymnastics competition. Spoiler, I've already done the gymnastics competition. In fact, I am 3 days into this holiday and I have not got sick yet. And if you've been following me on my Instagram, then you'll know that it's been quite a lot of chaos that I've had to navigate. So I feel really good that I'm still feeling fit and healthy. So what have I done to try and keep the holiday stress-free? Well, it all starts in the preparation. Preparation. That's really where you can make all the difference. And there were 3 things that made it less stressful for me. And by decreasing the stress, I'm maintaining my sustainable energy. First thing, I kept my whole day clear prior to my departure day. That may sound normal for some people, but for most of us who are running around all over the place, that's a pretty rare thing to do. That gave me time for those last minute tasks, and also the eventuality that I'd had a migraine the weekend before, so I hadn't been able to do a lot of the things that I wanted to get done a bit further in advance. So having that day clear just helped to be very methodical about how I did things. Number 2, I asked my PA, otherwise known as ChatGPT, for some assistance. And how did ChatGPT assist me on my holiday preparation? I find one of the most stressful things when you're getting ready to go is just like trying to figure out what you need, what you not need, what you need to do, what you not need to do. And so having a checklist is a really helpful thing. And I often construct to-do lists quite far in advance before I go away. But I thought those lists still felt haphazard. I ended up on this trip for some reason with lots of different lists, and I think it's because I needed all my gymnastics stuff, but I also needed my normal day-to-day stuff, and then you're also thinking about the things that you need to get done before you go away. So I used a couple of prompts to ask ChatGPT to help me, first of all, do a list of all the things that I would need for my trip, and then to do another checklist of all the things that I needed to do before I went away. And I found that so helpful because I could just take that list, copy it into my notes, have a full checklist, and then all you have to do is go through the checklist. Obviously, you've got to adapt it. You've still got to be mindful of your own things, but it can take you a really long way there, and it certainly relieved some of the stress in that preparation. If you've got an early flight, and as I did on this trip, that can put you straight back into burnout. It messes with your energy. I actually did some shifting prior to going away. I know this isn't always possible, But for 3 days leading up to my trip, I started shifting my sleeping patterns. So going to bed earlier and then waking up earlier. Had two benefits. Sorry, I didn't mean to. Two benefits. One is that I'm not a night owl. I'm a morning lark. Is that what we call it? And yet, since being in burnout, I've struggled to get up earlier in the morning. If I do get up early in the morning, I get so much more done. So not only did going to bed earlier and getting up earlier mean that I could then prepare to go away with more time and space because I had my optimum energy block, but it also meant that on the day where I needed to have a 3:30 a.m. wake up, I actually woke up before my alarm and got a decent number of hours sleep. I think I went to bed at about 8-ish. So, shocker. I haven't tried that before, but it was really, really helpful. Moving on to the travel day itself. The actual travel day can be stressful because it's out of your control. So, there's aspects of it I like because it's very planned. People are telling you exactly where you need to be at certain times. On this trip, I had four, if you include the taxi, 4 different legs to my journey. So I needed to get to the airport, I needed to do one flight, then I needed to do another flight, and then I had to do a train journey. And actually that was 2 train journeys as well. So 5 different things. But again, in my checklist and in my preparation, I had that all written down. Again, I have a notes for this day in particular. I have another thing in my notes app where I just put down everything I need. My flight details, which you've probably already got because you've checked in, but just find it really helpful to have it written there. My flight detail, each of those different train times, any phone numbers I need, like the taxi or if it doesn't show up, the hotel address, all of those different things. So if that's there for reference, you've got it. But that still doesn't mean that there's a lot of eventualities that you can't picture, that you can't plan for. And not only that, you're in highly stimulating environments. And my airport experiences this time were no exception. The airports were crazy when we travelled, and apparently other people's were as well. I have never seen Bristol Airport, which is my home airport, as busy as it was, and it took so much longer than it normally does to get through security. I was actually starting to get stressed I wouldn't make it to my gate on time, despite giving myself loads of time, more time than I would normally need, plenty more time than I would normally need to get through. In fact, it took me twice as long to get through security as it took me to get from Bristol to Amsterdam. So that was fun. It was incredibly chaotic, but there wasn't a lot I could do. Now, this airport experience is one example of where AI could be great one day, but right now it's not capable enough. Every single bag that goes through has to then get manually checked. And so where it's meant to be saving time because you don't have to take things out of your bag, it actually takes more time. So going through security, and I'd got all the way through, you're waiting at the other side. It was 47 minutes till boarding when I got through there. It was 10 minutes till boarding by the time my bag got through security. And there was nothing in my bag that needed checking. So I did notice myself stimming whilst I was doing this, and I just let it happen. Now I have to say my stimming is really not big. And I know I'm kind of lucky to be in that position where I can stim and it's fairly moderate. So it doesn't feel like you're too exposed. But I also was like, I could tell I was doing it, and I was like, oh, actually this might be quite helpful, because if I'm just letting the stimming happen, then we're less likely to end up in burnout. And asking the question, will this help support my nervous system? Will this help me stay away from burnout? Can be a helpful question if you catch yourself in the moment. Same goes for if you catch your stress levels rising, and then you can just breathe through those moments. So trying to start to notice things can be good. I know that can be difficult. Thanks to Alexa, buy me up. I feel like that's my word of the month. And I really do think this is my main tip here, that focusing on being in the moment and noticing yourself in the moment is actually the best way to stave off the anxiety. Now, being in that moment might mean being highly focused on where you need to get to next. So it's like, I've got to get to this gate, or I'm going to find a water fountain, I'm going to find the toilets, whatever it might be. So on a travel day, I really try to do that. Now, I know staying in the moment can be really, really hard well, it's easy to do, but it can feel difficult if your anxiety levels are really high already. And so doing anything to keep them calmer, like I said, breathing. And I also just like noticing physical sensations. That helps me stay grounded. But also my headphones are and the noise cancelling headphones are really important, I think, on trips. They help a lot. The other thing that really helps me is traveling alone, and because to me that helps keep stimulation to a minimum. I know airports, and especially busy airports, or other kind of travel areas, what are they called? Travel destinations, venues? No, you know what I mean, like ports of travel. They're full of things that are highly stimulating, but I find I can be quite good at blocking those things out if I focus on what I'm doing. So if I don't have to travel with other people, I then don't have to also be thinking about, well, where are they and what are they doing and how do I make sure I'm pleasing them whilst we're going through this journey as well. I can just be like, blinkers on, get to my destination. Remaining hyper-focused on where I need to go allows me to tune into my energy, and it helps me reduce stress. If there's a clear focus and I've already carved out the time and there's not too many unexpected events, I can actually thrive in these kind of environments. And I think it's the hyper focus and that purpose of knowing where you've got to get to that actually creates some space in my brain, and it stops me from overthinking or ruminating on other things. So it can actually be quite helpful for me. When I'm actually in transport, when I'm actually on a plane or a train or an automobile or whatever it might be, again, I do really try and stay in the moment. I make sure I've got a whole series of things that I might want to do and might feel like the right things in those moments. So that could be a book, that could be listening to music, it could be watching something, although I've been pretty useless at actually downloading anything for this trip. It could be, I like to do journaling quite often when I'm on a plane or on a train. All of those things can be things that I like to do when I'm doing transport. And then the final thing is creating my environment when I arrive. And for me, that's about bringing all of my rituals into my day, but at the same time also listening to the things I need. So I try to, for example, make sure I've got the right things I need to be able to make myself a cup of tea when I wake up in the morning. I bring my eye masks and my face oil so I can do the same things, my same morning routine when I'm in the hotel room, and that doesn't change. I bring my little night owl, my night owl rock, and actually I don't bring my pillow spray, but I bring my little roller things with relaxation oil in them. And so all of these little nurturing things that make me feel like I'm at home, I like to have with me so that my hotel room can feel like that nurturing space. And then in terms of actual activities when I'm away, I like to have a plan. I like to know, broadly speaking, what I'm going to do on each day and things I want to see, things I want to do. But I also like to remain pretty flexible and to listen to my energy levels and listen to what my body needs and my mind on a kind of minute by minute basis. So I do like to have a bit of flexibility when I go away. And again, I think this is one of the other reasons I like to travel alone, because it allows me to go, do you know what? I just need to go for a short run or a short walk in the morning. I haven't had to schedule, oh, let's meet at breakfast at this time, or let's do this at this time. If I'm not that hungry and I want to go outside and go for a walk and it's a nice day, and I feel like actually I'm in a really relaxed state right now, so I'm going to stay and walk around the city a little longer, or go and find a park and just sit somewhere, and I can do those things. So I like to have, like I said, some kind of structure, some kind of things scheduled, but also some kind of flexibility. When it comes to doing things with other people, I think you can still create those buckets of time. So these buckets of time are for me, and these buckets of time are for spending time with other people and enjoying that social time, and just being very conscious and very aware when that's enough. On this particular trip, because I'm here to do gymnastics, I'm not just here for a holiday. A lot of things were scheduled already, so a lot of my focus has been on competing and getting ready to compete. So again, that was just very structured and very laid out in terms of what I needed to do. It didn't go to plan, but part of how I'm dealing with that is by carving out lots of space for myself this morning, which is keeping me nice and calm. I had a really lovely walk this morning, and I've got the rest of the day to do some things that I had already planned, but with a much smaller group, and it's not going to be highly socially stimulating. I'm going to leave it there today. Because I'm away, obviously, I wanted to get something out to you. I'm not going to have as much time to get it edited. I don't have all my equipment with me at the moment. So I hope that that's enjoyable. Let me know what your travel tips are, what makes things less stressful, and how do you deal with it when you're still coming out of burnout. And so in summary, for me, it's about really being aware of your energy, honoring your energy, creating space, and doing that preparation. It's all in the planning, and the plan isn't there to dictate everything that you do, but the plan is there to give you the framework to then work from. Have a lovely day, and I'll see you soon. Bye.